for security reasons. But you know what? The weather for good walks has been optimal. It isn't super humid yet. Still have those crisp mornings, and there's some really beautiful college campuses not too far from Bitcoin Park. So I've been on my walk game, really making the most of the spring, and Bitcoin Park, especially just beginning of the day. Josh is brewing up coffee and, being this cheerful, lovely self. And it's a very special place. Nashville has some very special people for sure. Wish you
All
had
right.
that in LA, or you could just move here. It's fine.
uh, what is up, Chris? I will address your question in a moment. I mean, look, I will just say, as someone who had the great fortune to spend a lot of time at Bitcoin Park on my last Nashville visit, like it is a must see, must. It's a almost a rite of passage. You have to go to a meetup at Bitcoin Park in Nashville because it's it's unlike any meetup anywhere in the world. And I'm not trying to throw shade at Austin, but like it's Austin. It's not the same as Nashville, man.
Austin's it's a different flavor. I mean, we're sister cities or cousins or whatever. I think there's a lot of parallels of
Yeah,
Nashville and
your
Austin.
southern cities, you're definitely related in some way.
Yeah, it's true. There's good in both, and we're both very preeminent Bitcoin cities these days.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome into another episode of Late Night Bitcoin. I am your host, Q, coming to you as usual from my mother's basement. And I'm joined by my dear friend, none other than Specific Mills. I will never get this right. Even the Bitcoin Magazine days, I couldn't get this right. Lana will be joining us shortly. She did not rug us. She is an actual mother in charge of another human being. Neither of us have that responsibility, thank God, or at least not that I know of. Um, but Mills, I will kick this off as I do every episode, and I will ask you the $1 million question of what was the first time you ever heard about Bitcoin, and what was your initial reaction?
Yeah, I don't know that I could pinpoint number one time hearing it. My brother was a tech journalist at the time, and I heard about a lot of things, kind of in one ear, out the other. I don't know, past. But I remember specifically, and I had already known about what Bitcoin was, even though I wouldn't say I understood it at this point. But I remember we were in a like dollar slice pizza shop, maybe like Second Avenue, somewhere between 14th and 23rd, and hearing that Bitcoin was $5, had like crossed $5. And I remember really asking my brother, do you think it's ever gonna be a thing? You know? And I have thought about that moment. It's one of those moments in time where you don't know that it's a historical thing until later. And I've thought about that moment so many times. I'm like, I never would have guessed in that weird random one off that I was like, oh, I'm going to think about this. And it's going to be a lifestyle and career in so much of my existence, but it's fine.
We've come a long way in 12 years, a long way to say the least. Um, in
I
that
wish I would
mo-
have bought Bitcoin though, but here, no one does.
no one ever
I'm
does. That
human.
first time, you never do it.
Yeah.
Um, how long did it take you to go from will this become a thing to oh my god, this is a thing?
Shout out to my Bitcoin brother. That's how I officially refer to him in my writing and speaking. But actually, he and I are doing a co guested Twitter space tomorrow. And it's our first public, I mean, it's a Twitter space with acknowledging the fact that we're siblings. So honestly, maybe I'll make the, Bitcoin news. This is a long lost siblings discovered. But anyway, um,
This is the
what
spaces tomorrow, the mining spaces tomorrow, right? With Jason
this
Less,
is?
Colin.
No, this is Thank God for Bitcoin. I think it's 11 Central. Jordan JM writes,
Mm.
and the Thank God for Bitcoin conference handle. Anyway, my Bitcoin brother, he honestly like gave me a very emotional plea where he said, for me, could you just buy $50 of Bitcoin a week? And I remember at the time, I think I had probably just graduated from my second college. I was like, that's a lot of just spare change. You know, I'm not just like throwing $200 around. And I remember haggling and talking him down, and I think it was like, what about like $20 a week or something like that. And honestly, that's how I first got exposure. My brother wore me down in love and care, and he didn't guilt me into buying it, but he was kind of like if I'm wrong, like I'll reimburse you the whatever. I don't think he actually said something like that, but he was like, so, and he's a very sincere guy. Like he meant it and he believed it, and I guess I was just thanks, Chris. Yeah, so I had an idea, Chris and Q, recently for if I was to write a life story, a memoir, the title, and I'd call it Subtitles. And I've been thinking a lot about how, we're these biased, we think that we're the all-knowing narrator, but we're an unreliable narrator for the most part, right? We are, just factually. So then think about, I know that I'm living my life. I'm the one in the driver's seat, I think, but then what does someone that's looking at my life without my inner monologue, what are the subtitles for what they see if they didn't have sound? Anyway, that I will stop rambling, but that was a really great long answer to how I first bought Bitcoin. And then
I mean, look, you're just giving me great material to absolutely roast you, because Chris gave you the name of your book. For those who are just listening to the podcast, Chris Alamo submitted the name for Mills's memoir to be The Story of Why Mills Should Be a Billionaire But Isn't. I hope you gave your Bitcoin brother the biggest hug in the world, and you continue to do so every time you see him. And just, I hope he also reminds you that you could be that much richer if you weren't so cheap.
He has never rubbed it in, and he has also never gloated. Shout out my
He's
brother.
He's a better man than I.
Yeah, but we do. Actually, it started because he was staying with me. He had just come back to New York, partly because of the amazing Bitcoin community in New York. He had taught himself to code and was coming back to be in New York a month before COVID hit. So I had said, yeah, stay with me. And then what was going to be 6 weeks was 6 months. And we spent all of the lockdown basically together. And that was really how I started going to BitDevs. I had always been intimidated to ever do anything because I wasn't super technical. I'm still not super technical. But during COVID, we missed hugs, both of us, and we started a morning hug and a night hug in our little, Greenpoint existence, going through the lockdown, the quarantine in New York. And now pretty much if I ever stay with him or if he stays with me, we still do it, but also we hug each other when we see each other. It's very cute. So we have a lot of love. Siblings Miller.
I love that.
Are people fighting over the rights of my
Oh no, it's already been established. I'm going to produce the film. Mark will edit and do the score. And then of course we need to hire actors, and you of course will be the EP and in charge of it all, but it goes without saying that Mark and I will have our hands deep inside of this. And we'll give Chris a producing credit for the title.
This sounds like a really fun dream project to work on.
Yeah, you just got to write your memoirs. We'll take care of the rest.
You know, I wrote as my senior thesis, I wrote some childhood. Like, I mean, you can't publish at all. You should never publish a memoir unless you're at least like 40 or something. I don't know, halfway through life. I think, I mean, not saying you can't just live fast and loose, but all the people that have published very young, early 20s things, I feel like they're going to regret it. And I just don't want to be that person. I feel like I know that myself and know that I would regret it if I was to jump the gun, as they say.
So, on that note, you obviously know who my favorite living basketball player is, right? Because I wouldn't shut up about him at the conference last year. And I still don't forgive myself for going to that after party where he was at, and I brought his jersey, and I was going to wear his jersey to that party.
We were on different plots that night.
I know. And
So,
but like, you wouldn't answer my question. And I was so tired that night. And I kept on being like, Mills, just give me a straight answer. Is Shaq at this party? Because I will wake up and come. And you're like, just come, just come, just come. And I was like, is he there? Yes or no? And you wouldn't give me the answer. And then the next day you're like, yeah, you missed it. Shaq was there. I was so mad at you. But reason I bring this up is because Shaq actually did exactly this. He wrote a memoir right after winning his very first championship with the LA Lakers after the year 2000, in the year 2000. And then the following year, they win another one. So he literally adds a chapter addendum to that. And then in the addendum, he's like, yeah, I probably made a mistake writing this as early on as I did because I got like 10 more years left in my career. Sure enough, he had 10 more years left in his career. He could probably have waited like 5 more years before writing it, but eventually wrote a second memoir. So does this mean we're going to get 2 memoirs out of Mills?
I mean, if I wasn't so fond of my privacy, yes. But as is, it's the perk of being friends. I will tell you crazy stories, and the crazy stories they just never stop. So you get the real deal, the experience. I don't think this is ever going to be packaged and on shelves, sadly. As much as making a movie with all y'all would be very fun.
All I'm saying is we have to just change like 4 names and then we're good. You can call it fiction with quotes around it.
Doesn't that always make a movie better when it says the disclaimer, something like, nothing in this is an intentional replication of real life. Any coincidence or any overlap, whatever, is purely coincidental. And if that's there, then you know it's true. Like, you know that it's about the true something that happened, and they took liberties, but you know what happened.
Well, you and I, especially like having the background of working in Hollywood, you producing, me as an agent, like we know the background of like, oh, that statement is there because they couldn't secure the life rights. Like they're going to tell this story whether or not the person wants it told or not. And that person missed out on a solid payday.
Yeah.
I could spend hours talking to you about your childhood, but I hear Chris in the back of my head going, bring it back to Bitcoin, bring it back to Bitcoin. So I'm gonna do exactly that. One of
Chris
the things,
can't leave our heads.
dude, Chris lives rent free in my head right now. But you brought up when I originally asked about your first interaction with Bitcoin and that story you talked about from 2011, like you, nor frankly anyone for that matter, could have even begun to imagine the culture that was going to follow. Not just, the freedoms this technology afforded, not just the wealth that some people have garnered from holding for so long, but the cultural aspect of being a Bitcoiner. Like that is an adjective that a lot of us hold proudly on our chest, even sometimes. Like I was explaining recently, like shout out my co-host for the Bitcoin Ballers podcast, Ulrich. Dude plays in a basketball league, like in a local league, because we live close to each other, with and he plays against all of these kids I went to high school with, including some of my best friends. And I was talking to them. I was like, all right, this guy I know keeps saying like he's like a really good basketball player. And I'm like a little skeptical on it. Do you know this guy? He's on this team. He's like, dude, that's the best team. That one guy with the afro is so good. I was like, oh shit. So Ulrich can ball. And they were like, oh, how do you know him? Well, he's a Bitcoiner. I was like, what's a Bitcoiner? Like, yeah, you don't get it. To you, what does it mean to be a Bitcoiner?
Man, Q asking these existential questions. I think I've believed
Did you
different
not get
things.
the memo that you were supposed to smoke a little bit of weed before this?
Oh, my memo was lost in the mail. I think it's meant different things at different stages, and I think there are probably a lot of answers that I'd either agree with or, I don't know if there's the right one. I would say that it is an understanding fundamentally that, oh, hello. Hi.
Did not mean to steamroll your answer, but we are guests.
Fine. It'll
Fundamentally,
keep.
there's what?
Well, I'm just answering the deep existential question of what it means to be a Bitcoiner.
Oh,
So
continue.
Here we are.
Don't let me
I'm
interrupt.
beginning. I think understanding, yes, there are other currencies, coins, securities, tokens, whatever, speculations, investments, stocks. There's all these other options. I think there's a fundamental respect that Bitcoin is different than everything else, and a couple reasons, maybe understanding why it's different. But beyond that, so it's a prioritization. That's the one part I would say. And the other part would be a fundamental hope and belief in the code, I guess, and this as a solution, and understanding, right, that the money is broken. So I think if you don't think the money's broken, it's pretty hard to see how how Bitcoin is a solution. Look at me just interchangeably saying money and Bitcoin, guys. But
because
I think
it's the same thing.
I think that's how I would, as it hits me in this moment, that's how I would answer what a Bitcoiner is. Q.
I definitely think like the thread I'm going to pull off of that is like this idea that we as Bitcoiners recognize the money is broken. And I think that is an underlying theme that feeds into everything else. Oh, the money's broken. Well, if this is broken, what else? Oh, our food supply is broken. Oh, like our laws are broken. Our leaders are broken. You start to sort of uncover and dive deeper down this rabbit hole. But I want to shift for a moment, take a step back. Lana, welcome to
Hi.
Late Night Bitcoin.
Why, thank you. Sorry I was late.
Do not say sorry. You are in charge of another human being. This is a responsibility that I can't even begin to fathom.
Hey,
Nor do I want to.
And are you talking about him right here? He's not a human being.
No. Lana, I would like to ask you the question that every guest who comes on the podcast is asked. What was the first time you ever heard about Bitcoin, and what was your initial reaction? And I'm not asking the orange pill story.
So the very first time I heard of Bitcoin, John, my now husband, had just gone to a Ron Paul rally in DC. It was like 2012, 2013. And I definitely laughed it off. I was like, yeah, okay. At the same time, I was laughing off homeschooling. So this is where I was at as a person. And we can look at the evolution of where I'm at now, where I'm 100% homeschooling. And here I am working at Bitcoin Magazine. So we can see how that turned out. I was like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever.
I'm just glad you didn't laugh John out of the room, though.
No, I didn't. But so it took him probably 5 years before I'd start to take it seriously. Like he was running a honey miner on my iMac all through my college years, and I was just annoyed at how slow it was making everything run. I was like, John, I need this for school. I have design projects, and I was just not having it. But I'd always listen to his stories, yeah, that's really cool. Never really listening though. And then probably within 5-6 years, I was like, yeah, okay, there's probably more to this that I should probably start paying attention to.
Okay, because this is my podcast, I need to ask these questions for my own sake, because right now the battle I'm in with Stevie is I get on her sometimes for shopping a little too much. And her response is, right, but you spend all this money on Bitcoin. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
that's not the same thing.
It's like you're not spending money on Bitcoin. You're converting money to Bitcoin. You're converting fiat. You're just converting your money
I'm
from
selling fiat.
yeah, you're getting out of fiat to put it into a sounder money. It's not like you're buying shoes, which is what I more often do.
So
You're
what was
currency trading. I
Yes.
think that's what we could call that.
Yes.
Dylan LeClaire would have some words to say about us calling ourselves currency traders, but I digress. Lana, what
Come
got you
at me,
over that
Dylan.
hump, and how can I replicate that with my girlfriend?
Honestly, like truly, like it took us sitting down and taking our finances very seriously as people just getting out of college and realizing like now we realize what a joke student loans are. But then I was like, I'm not even kidding. I was losing sleep. Like I used to fear the concept of being woken up in the middle of the night, whether it was by like a car alarm going off or like something. Because as soon as I'd wake up in the middle of the night, I would instantly have a panic attack by the pressure of repaying my student loans. Because at the time, my paychecks were $500 a week. And my bills were stacking up. They're like the income-based student loan payments like were $1,200 a month. I'm like, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to get out from under this debt. And just trying to sit down and realistically think like, how can I get out of this? I'm already working, like I'm doing everything right. I'm playing by the rules. You start to very quickly realize you're not the problem. Like the money is the problem. And it's really a shame to see the amount of people just struggling and wondering what they're doing wrong. And who haven't yet realized that the core of the problem, to your point, is just the money being broken.
Very much so. Mills.
But I still buy shoes, Brent. Sorry, I still buy shoes.
Mills, you're muted.
So Lana, how would you describe a Bitcoiner?
Mhm.
You heard my answer, but Q,
Please.
How would I describe a Bitcoiner? So my answer might very well be similar. Like, so to make it a little bit more dramatic, because that's what I'm good at, like we all know the correlation between the movie The Matrix. Like I describe a Bitcoiner as somebody that's
You mean
like,
the documentary, The Matrix?
yes, naturally. Like as somebody that, Q, to your point from a bit earlier, once you pull at one thread, like once you're like, okay, this is broken, you can't just say, okay, this part's broken, but everything else is fine. Like it truly is like you're pulling back the curtain. So a true Bitcoiner is somebody that has done that, probably mourned all of the ideas of what they were raised believing and knowing, and found the right answer and realized like, okay, this is what I need to be running toward. But that requires a lot of changes. Like it requires you to think about your food differently. It requires you to question authority and government and organized politics and policy and groupthink. Like a true Bitcoiner, at least from my experience, I can't speak for the world of Bitcoiners as a whole, is somebody that questions everything, doesn't trust, they verify everything, sometimes to a frustrating point, but you can't fault them, and is in the best way very self-sacrificing, because I think, at least to my general understanding, this isn't something that's going to be just a shift and a world change in our lifetimes. Like I look at this for like, what world am I leaving my son? What world am I leaving for my grandchildren? And I think a Bitcoiner, at least at this stage, because we are so early, probably recognizes that they're signing up for a lot of self-sacrificial behavior, a lifetime of questioning everything, but working really hard toward a better solution for the masses, and taking control over something that historically has always just been trusted to third parties.
So have you reached your quota of discussion about mandibles, Q, or can we talk about mandibles?
Oh my God, I am itching because I never had that conversation, Mills. I have never had the mandibles conversation. If we want to turn this into a full-blown mandibles talk, I'm so with it.
Well, even if it's just a touchdown and we don't do a full landing here, well,
then you're coming back to do the full episode with me. Just saying.
I mean, yes. I'm just trying to get together a book club. So can we just have this be our book club and we... Okay, Chris.
Okay, we won't spoil the ending, even though everyone has talked about it,
our
Chris.
book club
I've gone as far as putting it on my Kindle. So, Chris,
Dude, I cram read that on a
I know
red
you
eye to Bitcoin Amsterdam, only for Odell to get sick.
I know you did. You literally, your response when I told you Amsterdam was a go, you're like, I'm downloading the Mandibles right now, or I'm getting the Mandibles right now. You did your homework.
I did my homework.
Literally.
So set a date.
We will not spoil anything, Chris, but the rule of
Let's-
thumb is spoilers only last for a book. I'll give you 6 months, and this book was published in 2018. So
I would even give a year.
all right, fine. We'll give you a
I'm
year, but
feeling
it was published
generous.
5 years ago. We will not go past chapter 3. But you know how, like, at the end, when that one thing happens with that one character?
No. So I was actually having a
Oh.
chat with Mark right before this. And I want, honestly, I want to reread it. I'm a huge proponent of rereading books if they're good. Well, this is me like stealing what C.S. Lewis wrote in Experiment in Criticism, but like if there's value and merit, then it's going to be better the next time and the next time. And if it's not, one time only. I want to reread it. Can we say sometime in June? We do a book club discussion. Chris, you're invited. Lana, Mark, anyone. But I want to specifically look at what's happening in the past, maybe like 2 months. Because obviously, well, we don't have to go into fourth turning. We don't have to go into end of the world, whatever. But I do feel like there's a lot of indications in the current climate financially that makes me think we could be in the prologue or something.
We're literally in chapter
is in.
2 of the Mandibles. Like, Chris, I'm so sorry if this spoils something, but I'm pretty sure that
Chris is gonna leave.
the Bancor is established very early in that book. It's the new currency that other nations use, but that the U.S. government refuses to adopt. Well, guess what's happening to your point right now, Mills, is the BRICS nations are all meeting, getting more applications for more countries to join their group, and they're figuring out a mutually beneficial currency. It's literally straight out of the Mandibles. Like, I was having this conversation with Stevie last week. I had this conversation with my doctor last week. He was like, so like Bitcoin, man. I was like, dude, let me tell you something. It's happening. So
Look, you chased Chris away.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we
All
lost
right.
Chris. I knew it.
I thought it was in the first 3 chapters. I could have sworn they talk about the Bancor in the first 3 chapters.
He respects himself. Oh my gosh.
Chris, you can't do this. We're live on air right now, bro.
The drama.
But to your point, Mills, I do agree that there are shades of truth happening from these novels that were not written about the past. Like this, The Mandibles was written about a potential future in America. And another one, so the book that I'm actually reading right now, shout out Chris, who is the one who like really was pushing me at Bitcoin Magazine to finally read it. Finally, I'm getting around to reading it. It's dense, it's thick, it's long. Atlas Shrugged. So I'm on book 2 right now. And I have to say, there are aspects of this where it's like, oh, no wonder every single conservative talking head like talks about this book and like points to some of the moves that we make that like are really reflective of exactly what's happening in that book. I will say this objectively speaking, I don't actually think it's as literal though as something like the Mandibles. And I think there's a degree of Atlas Shrugged that is happening in real life, but there are a lot of other components of it that either are not happening publicly. So they could very well be happening behind closed doors in those like super wealthy parties and all of those things. Or quite frankly, like spoiler, sorry, this book was published in the 60s. I don't care. I'm not even done with it and I'll spoil this much. Like Francisco D'Ancosia, like he, like that type of I'm just going to self-sabotage to destroy everything my family's built because I don't want any grifters coming along for that ride. That's Elon Musk right now. That's literally what Elon Musk is doing to Twitter, and people are getting upset over it, and people are trying to instigate certain laws. And then on top of that too, this is where it gets real. This is where like my brain hurts when I do this comp though. not only is Elon Musk Francisco D'Ancosia, he's also the fucking brother, excuse my language, who is like working with the government when Elon goes and is meeting with Chuck Schumer right now and be like, oh yeah, we need more AI rules. Like don't let Microsoft go balls to the walls on AI. We must limit their development of AI so that I can catch up and so that I can make money. He's literally
You really
playing.
think that's what Elon's doing?
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And yes, by the way, there is an Atlas Shrugged movie that did so poorly that when I
The
called
movie
someone
isn't
to
very
try,
good.
the movie's
Some
it's
never-
so bad that when I tried to call and get the rights for the book, someone laughed at me over the phone. They were like, "Don't do it, don't do it. It's untouchable right now." So,
I don't think that's what Elon's doing.
oh, okay.
I mean, I know he's a troll.
Wait, time out. Which part? The tanking the Twitter or the impeding AI development?
Impeding AI development.
Okay, because he signed the document saying that we need stricter laws around AI.
No, so I don't. I agree. I believe that he's doing that. I believe that he's doing it. Maybe he's doing it just to come out with his better AI solution, but I truly think that he is smarter than probably most people on this planet combined, and he can see several steps ahead. And I truly think that the average human, myself included, is too short-sighted to fully understand the ramifications of what they could be building with AI. Like, it's almost like I want to ride a bike without knowing how, thinking I know how. And Elon's like, you should probably get some training wheels. And I'm like, no, I'm good. And I'm going to like face plant. But like that face plant could equal like humanity being murdered in mass by AI.
Totally.
So I really, truly believe like maybe I'm just too on the Elon train because I was pretty pissed at him for a long time for all the Doge stuff, and I still am, to be honest. But the guy is smart, and I think the guy knows the limitations of your average human.
I don't disagree. I mean, like you and I would have this conversation with P all the time about how like he's just giving all of this information to our future AI overlords, and they will like use all of his weird, messed up Dolly 2 prompts to create the scariest things to come and kill us.
Dude, if only we knew back when we were playing with Dolly what AI was going to become just a few short months later. We were using it to make like clown doll images.
We were bringing Mike Germano's son's cartoons to life, or comic strips to life.
And
then
now
of course
here we
P
are
was,
having it write our email blasts. Just kidding. I write my own email blasts.
I'm having it code for me right now. I'm literally building a website. As Mills learned, I am very bad at coding, so I'm using my training wheels of ChatGPT, and it's excellent, to be quite honest with you. But
ChatGPT is a pretty good sounding board in general. It's like sometimes I don't actually want to share with everyone, with the world, but I'll, random robots that I don't know where the information's going to. That every once in a while, it's like a
some
confessional.
of it's definitely going to Microsoft. That much is sure.
Yeah, but it's like I think it's like a ship in a bottle. I'm sending it off somewhere.
But like I would make a case and say we've done this. We've literally done exactly this with social media, where we didn't realize the effects of what it was going to do to us. Every Bitcoiner, I think, should at least watch Social Dilemma to get a better understanding of how like your Twitter addiction is a genuine problem, and Elon is actually going to like capitalize on it. He's turned Twitter into TikTok already, and I personally don't like it, but separate thing. Like we didn't know that by just throwing everything at Facebook, we're giving Mark Zuckerberg the largest data set on humanity ever created. And then it's too late. Like the bell's been rung. So to your point, Lana, I do agree that maybe Elon sees that as a potential problem, given everything else that's happened. But again, as the free market capitalist that I am, and as someone who is literally reading Atlas Shrugged right now, to see a group of businessmen go to the government and say, hey, stop the development of this technology because we don't know what it's like, is literally what they did to Reardon Metals. So, like, I'm with you. Like, if anything, this only confirms we live in a simulation that 99, like, my, like, 50-50 is up to a 99%. I'm in a simulation that honestly, the documentary The Matrix showed us that AI literally will do this to us one day because they realize like, oh, why do I need this human counterpart that slows me down, that uses more energy? So yeah, it's a documentary.
I know that we're not talking about the problems with the Matrix right now, but it does seem like a very inefficient way to harvest energy. No?
What, with humans?
Spoiler. Wow. Just
If you talk about
movies are a hard 3
That was
months
a-
and they can be
that
spoiled.
was a joke. It was a joke. No, the way they harvest human energy, it feels very I just feel like they could have come up with a more exciting, plausible. It seems very unrealistic.
what do you want a bunch of people like running on treadmills?
I kind of do. Like I want
She wants the hamster wheel.
You don't want the goo pods?
the goo
Okay.
pod without some more electric current. It just left it wanting for me.
So what you want, it's because I know the way your brain sort of I'm learning the way Mills' brain works. You want screaming children on hamster wheels because that's the real energy source.
And I think Monsters Inc. is more believable and plausible, truly, in this one area. It's harvesting adrenochrome in this one area than the little pod thing. It just seems like, just think about the overhead
laying
to build
dormant.
all
You're
those
right.
pods. Cute. I don't think this is a laughing matter. This is serious.
No, I'm
Everyone
trying
go
to I'm
watch
trying to give
Monsters.
energy to our AI overlords. Because remember at the end of Monsters Inc., spoiler,
I
that
know.
laughter gets more energy than screams.
Spoiler.
Lana so often would be like, and we come in peace, and we are very respectful, and we like
I
you.
will not
and
fight. I am submissive to my AI overlords. I am your
Yes.
friend.
Mark Goodwin, I actually feel like Pixar did the 1-2 with Wall-E as well. I know that there were movies in between, sorry. However, the harvesting pods in Matrix like goes to these pods, these fleshy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
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 Lana's video's frozen, so I don't see her face, so I just have to only
Oh,
look
no.
at Q.
Am I
It's
frozen?
just probably on
She's
me,
not
though.
frozen for me, so I think she's frozen for you,
I think
Mills,
it's a
which means
personal
your
problem.
internet. Yeah, your internet's about to crap out on us. But I digress.
Anyway.
I'm loving where we're going with this, and I'm gonna keep prodding at these things a little bit if you'll entertain me.
What else can we spoil?
Spoiler alert.
So we've firmly established that we are living through moments from Atlas Shrugged. We're living through moments of the Mandibles. I think we are doing a disservice to not also spoil George Orwell's 1984 and Big Brother.
I've never
And-
read
and
1984 and it's on
Aldous-
my list.
Aldous
But you-
Huxley's Brave
Did you
New
not
World.
graduate from high school in America? I thought it was
Not
required reading for everyone.
Brag, but it wasn't for AP.
I was an AP.
Well, then
I
maybe my AP was different. I'm sorry. I was reading shit that I don't know. I was not reading.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Donna read harder books than me in high school. Oh.
If it helps, I remember none of
I
that.
actually read 1984 sophomore year before I had AP classes.
So maybe that's it, though.
Brave
Okay.
New World was pre-AP.
Yeah, Chris, he's
you
dead, by the
split.
way. Just, I want to quickly spoil. I'm not going to say what it is, but Chris, he's dead. You find that out at the end of the movie.
Poor Chris.
If you are watching this on Twitter, if you are listening to this later, you
What about-
need to subscribe on the YouTube channel. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe down below. Had to be said.
What
Mark.
about Fight Club?
I need to
Oh,
watch
you
it.
just
I've never
that's
watched
what
it.
I've seen.
I know.
Wait,
I know.
you've never seen Fight Club?
I know. It's literally just been sitting on my watch list too.
I am so happy for you that you have this great joy and pleasure yet to look forward to. God bless. Q.
It's
I'm
true.
very excited. I know that I'm gonna love the movie too, and it's one of those things where it's like I want to have like undistracted, just let me
Yeah.
chill and watch this movie. Not, oh,
And
I
pay
got,
attention. Like, don't
yeah,
scroll Twitter.
yeah, exactly. Because I'm awful about that.
No, like hooked up to the IV. Mr. Movie Phone over here.
Mark, I've never read Fight Club, if that makes it any better. I mean, Brad Pitt.
But
Okay.
apparently Mills is my source on this. Mills, I will let you say the line.
The author of Fight Club
The book
or
suck.
what?
The movie, this is one of the only examples of a movie being better than the book itself.
It is an entirely different experience, and I think it's one of the only instances where I think you could enjoy both separately. They are not the same. The movie, it was like extra life was breathed in.
That's
Would
what
you guys judge me
Brad
if I
Pitt
said that
tends
was
to
the
do
same
that.
for Harry Potter?
What? I love Harry Potter.
So, but it's the same example. I think, like, sorry to get out of like sophisticated Bitcoiner mindset. Harry Potter, the books are just as good as the movie, and vice versa.
Oh, I completely disagree with you. The books are infinitely better.
Well, the books are incredible. Okay, so you have to separate them. I know this is
You
not.
do, but this is why I will die on this hill. Can you name me the last book that was internationally anticipated for a release?
What?
Like, we look forward to movies coming out. We look forward to the next season
Oh
of a
no, you're
TV
right.
show. But the last time our entire society looked forward to a book was
Yeah,
Harry Potter.
people were lining up the night before. It was a phenomenal.
Entire society is a little overstating, not
No,
much.
I don't think it is.
Okay, okay,
little
Mills. Sorry you
overstatement.
didn't have a childhood and you did not enjoy Harry Potter.
It was widely loved by everyone I knew.
I remember a very similar phenomena for Twilight. I don't know if they were contemporaries,
Twilight
but I
came
remember
after.
friends like waiting at Barnes and Noble for, I don't know, the new book to come out. Like that same level of Harry Potter expectation, but not global cultural moment.
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers are. I'd be curious to see how many copies have sold.
I don't know.
We live in 2023. All right, I gotta ask this now. So, like, what is each of yours favorite book as an adult right now? Like, what is a book where you're like, I can just pick this up, read it, and I know I'm gonna enjoy it and love it?
You want to go first, Mills?
I don't. There's too many books.
Oh, I can go first because it's an easy one. It's called Night Film. It's totally out of the blue, but it's called Night Film. It's by Marissa Peschel. It's a mind twist. Like, you don't fully understand what's reality, what's actually happening, what's happening in this guy's head. Is he slowly going insane? And it's like a true page turner. And thankfully, I have the memory of a fruit fly, so I can reread books and not remember how they end. So that's a good one to reread.
What?
What is this book called?
It's called Night Film. I have a hard copy if you want me to bring it to Bitcoin Miami or the Bitcoin conference in Miami in 16 days. I did not call it Bitcoin Miami. I will deny it if I'm ever told.
Casual rebrand. I see you. I see you.
The Bitcoin conference coming to Miami Beach May 18th through 20th.
Wow, Lana, I'm so proud
Mills,
of your shill.
Before I get your answer, I do have an answer to your question. So Harry Potter sold more than 500 million copies worldwide. Twilight sold 160 million. So more than 3 times the number of copies.
How many
books.
copies of the Bible?
Oh, I mean,
So
when did we start tracking that?
Well, I mean,
Oh, wow.
I know Bible's all time, so it's just
give me a
good-
guess. Give me a guess.
6 billion.
Ooh. Mills?
I was thinking like 3 billion, and now I'm like, why am I such a bear? But I felt like 3
Bearish on the
billion.
Bible.
So it is actually estimated between 5 to 7 billion.
I'm
Lana, like
embarrassed.
literally right in the middle of that range.
Wow.
Lana wins. Ding, 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 ding.
So, fun fact, guys, Silk Road. I'm bringing it back to Bitcoin. Let's talk about Bitcoin again.
Appreciate you.
The most purchased item on Silk Road purportedly was the Bible.
Yep. Well, see, here was the other thing though I wanted to ask you though, is how many of those copies of the Bible? Well, actually, do you know this fun little statistic? Do you know what the most stolen book in the world is?
One can.
I'm gonna guess the Bible.
Correct. Because it's so, and I actually learned because when I was at the World Cup with my buddy, and then his family was also with us, his mom, we were making a comment about how in Dubai, of all places, there's a copy of the Bible in our hotel.
Yeah.
And I was like, I actually, like, funny enough, like, I don't have a copy of the Bible. I have some other religious texts, but I don't have a copy of the Bible. And his mom was like, just take it. Like, they're there for you to actually take home. Like, it's not, people think it's stealing the Bible, but they're put in these hotel rooms with the hope that people will actually just take it home with them.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That
Because they're
confirmed.
donated. They're donated to the
Can
hotel.
confirm that the hotel does not buy and order and place. They do it in partnership with like Gideon's purse. Is that what it is?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because I would always assume, like, okay, I'm gonna steal the little soaps. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna steal toothpaste, but I'm not gonna steal scripture out of the nightstand and not assume that's some kind of cardinal sin.
I always found that statistic just so funny that it's the most stolen book. We're about to tell people to go steal the Bible the next time they see it in the hotel. And then, honestly, the wrath of God is going to come down on everyone as a result.
One of us is
just remember, Mills told you that, not Q.
Wow, I love that. We can always play the tapes, Q. But no, you're not actually the first time I've heard this, in that the housekeeping, they will have a couple extra of the Gideon's Bible on their cart, because if someone had taken the Bible, they have more to put it in, and they're like donated. So with pillows, however, and washcloths, I have unintentionally stolen quite a few washcloths from hotel rooms. Don't ask me how, but I have a very nice collection now of hotel washcloths that weren't intentional theft. They were mixed in somehow.
Repeatedly with every hotel.
I mean, like, I honestly have like 4, and I've felt bad every single time when I'm unpacking or like doing my laundry and I notice, what am I going to do? Mail it back to the hotel? Throw it away? Chris, it's not, if it's not bolted down, but I love your approach.
Yeah.
I
stop at toiletries.
I do toiletries. It's game over. If you have toiletries in there, like, the next guest will not see them. You need to replenish them. I learned this the hard way, because I got in trouble in college for it, where like I used to take the bathrobe all the time. Because like the bathrobes at hotels are really nice. And then one time I got a big charge and I was like, okay, I can't do that anymore. And
how
so
many
like
bathrobes were you taking?
I had like 4 or 5.
You beat Mills's washcloth accidental collection.
Well, it was fully intentional because honestly, it got to a point where in college I was traveling a lot between just my fraternity and then some stuff for the business school as well. So I was like in a hotel almost once a month, and the math I did in my head was, college kid, all right? I'm a broke college kid. I can wash my towels, or I can get a new one every month.
So I can just see Q with like his bathrobe collection. Like, I think I'll wear the Hilton this evening. Like, just.
I used to have a client.
Did you flaunt these thefts?
No.
Okay.
It was strictly like from a budgetary standpoint. I was like, this makes so much sense. Like, why wouldn't I just get a new towel and bathrobe every month? And then, funny enough, when I was an agent, I actually used to represent this comedian who, to this day, his shtick is he performs in a bathrobe.
Was it a stolen hotel bathrobe?
No,
Were you
he's got like
supplying the
nice.
bathrobes?
He's got nice bathrobes though. It's like
Sponsored by Q.
There's
Honestly,
nothing like a
don't
good
sleep,
bathrobe.
no pun intended, don't sleep on a good bathrobe. Like
Dude.
a good quality bathrobe can change the world.
So this is a very weird tidbit of life that will go in my non-existent autobiography, but I realized there are luxury robes. Like you can spend thousands of dollars on a robe. Are you guys hip to this like cashmere silk robe life?
Not
You're both
thousands,
frozen.
unless it's a
I'm not.
pretty.
I'm not hip in the sense that like, no, I'm not going and perusing because honestly, it would just make me sad because I'd want one. Like Lana was on the
So
receiving end of all of my orange smokers jackets while I was at Bitcoin Magazine.
wow. So you're rich. Well,
He's so
I had a client that I was helping. Like,
Are
I
you
used to.
okay?
We're good. Keep going. Keep going.
What happened? My camera for both of you is frozen. So
Q just ran into his background.
Like all my books almost fell
Amazing.
over. It's fine.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, Chris.
Chris,
You're having fun being poor, not buying
Just-
$1,000 bathrobes.
just so you know, not 1K, more than that. It's inappropriate. It's inappropriately expensive. But I used to do it's called Styled by Mills, and I would do home consultations and closet consultations, and I would do this kind of just independent word of mouth with, and I was going through this closet of this woman on the Upper East Side, and this robe, it was super soft. She was getting rid of it. Someone had, I don't know, given it to her as a gift. I don't know if it was like a suitor or I have no idea, but she gave it to me. She was going to get rid of it, and I wore it. I was heading out for the weekend, and I wore it kind of like a trench before robes were actually cool as clothing, and just leaned in. And then one of my friends was like, have you looked that robe up? And sure enough, I did, and it's like $3,000.
Is this the
Which
Bovisa?
Oh, what?
Loro Piana silk cashmere, $3,500.
No, but it's a Saint Elgin of Scotland.
Oh, because this is Italian, but it's silk cashmere featuring classic lapels and patch pockets for
Oh,
35.
Johnston's of Elgin.
So like, these are obviously like robes to wear out, not like post
No,
shower.
these are at home. This is like I don't know why anyone would have this money.
Yeah, our recommendations along with that Q are slippers. So this is definitely like a
Hotel slippers. Like I take them home with me all the time. They last 2 weeks and then they're in the trash. But like that
slippers,
is.
though, I don't go anywhere in my house without slippers. I accidentally left the house today wearing them.
I've done that so many times to my house slippers that like I've washed the house slippers afterwards too to like make them. I'm very big on like, this is like an Asian household, almost like no shoes in the house type of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm a socks in the house kind of guy.
That's fair. Something, just not shoes. Not
Fair.
shoes. You can't go barefoot.
I can't. I've learned this about myself. I'm a bit of a germaphobe. I don't like outside germs inside of my bed. Kind of grosses me out.
It's pretty gross.
It is. We're gonna have to go over. I'm gonna suck it up.
But screen time.
I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying. Lana, you alluded to the now renamed Bitcoin conference that will be in Miami.
Yeah.
I know the two of you had the pleasure of going to Consensus. We've all had the pleasure of attending Amsterdam as well as attending last year's Bitcoin conference in Miami. Mills, there's no shortage of the conferences you've attended. I've got like maybe 2 more to add to that list, and then my run is up. I guess I'll start by saying,
Okay.
What is your favorite conference And if you tell me the conference you guys put on, I'm going to cut your mic.
Wow, I see this is a dictatorship. Great.
I want authentic answers.
And so the frustrating part is you're going to have to cut my mic. I haven't been okay. To be fair, my favorite would be Amsterdam. Not like B22 was actually really incredible. It's where I interviewed to get my job. But Amsterdam, besides spending time in excess with both of you lovely people, it was just a really incredible experience. It was the first time I'd ever seen Bitcoin outside of just my own backyard, right? Like you see people speaking in a language you don't understand, talking about things that presumably you've already talked about with your friends. Like it's cool to zoom out and see Bitcoin on a scale that I hadn't before seen.
I dig that. I'm almost surprised, and I know obviously we've talked about like what your situation was at B22, but I will say, like, as someone who like worked B22, like was up until 2 a.m. putting the folding chairs out of the main stage the night before, going this year and knowing that I don't have any of those responsibilities, like I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
Rumor has it we're not going to be putting out as many, like we have more hands to put out the chairs. So
yeah, that's what they said last year too.
You can say
borderline maniacally laughing right now.
Stevie and I have been having a good laugh because she keeps reminding me, like, you don't work there, so don't stay up until 2 a.m. helping them set up chairs. I'm like, I'm not. Like, I won't.
Don't worry, I won't either. Just kidding. Chris, I'm kidding.
I'll tell you point blank, Chris will not.
Mark too. I'm looking in the chat. Who's here who can tell on me? I promise I'll help with the chairs.
Wink, wink. Mills, what is your favorite conference and why is it not the Bitcoin conference? Because I know yours won't be.
You're right. But also, I mean, little shill for, I'm going to be so embarrassed if I'm wrong, but pretty sure the little write-up I did for Bitcoin Amsterdam is in the Gatekeepers issue, which is our new issue that is newly minted. I have a ... for Mark. I'm like, I'm alluding to something. I wrote this piece. This is my first in the print piece, or in a print mag, but I am a conference like connoisseur. I guess I've just been to, I worked in experiential marketing, event production. I did conferences, I produced conferences, and I've just been to more conferences probably than anyone ever needs to go to. So that was an unnecessarily long caveat to, I wouldn't say, are you asking favorite Bitcoin conference or favorite conference period? Because
I'll take the second because I know what the answer is, and the answer that I want is only going to come if I say the second one.
So not Bitcoin conference?
Just conference in general.
Oslo Freedom Forum.
Yep.
And the way Matt Odell described it was that it's like 80% freedom fighting human rights activists, 20% financial freedom, but of that 20% financial freedom track, 80% of it is about Bitcoin education, talking about all the like the ways in which Bitcoin can be a freedom tool.
So 16% of the conference for the other math nerds out there.
That's fast math. Did you calculate that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
but I feel like it's the real conversation about why I believe in Bitcoin, or why I care about Bitcoin, or why I even want to work in Bitcoin. I don't know. You're the host, Q. I mean, sorry. I'm just
no. Why are you saying
myself
sorry?
On a dance.
Why are you saying sorry? I should have been leading you on the dance, but no, I wanted you to discuss Oslo because I think it's very important. You know, there are so many people in this space that, whether we like it or not, like I'm spacing right now on the number of wallets we have, but let's be perfectly honest. If you think that more than half of those people who hold Bitcoin today, right now, believe in the things that we believe, I think you're a little naive. And I genuinely think there's a majority of Bitcoin holders and users today who are genuinely just, yeah, when it's worth $1 million, like I'm gonna be a millionaire. Like they don't see it as that next step, that next evolution of money. And conferences like the Oslo Freedom Forum are so important because it humanizes Bitcoin's use cases today, right now, outside of our financial privileged bubble. And for most of us in the West, we can look at Bitcoin as this speculative bet of, yeah, buy, hold it, don't think about it for 5 years. Like put the money that you don't need for the next 5 years in Bitcoin, like then come back to it and deal with it then. However, for the vast majority of the global population, that's not the opportunity that they're afforded. They don't have $50 a week to DCA into Bitcoin, or 20 the way you did, Mills, or Lana, the way, John eventually got you into it, but he's using a spare laptop to mine. Like most families in Iran have one computer that they share amongst cousins, aunts, and uncles.
Yeah.
So there are use cases for Bitcoin today, right now. And that's why I think a conference like the Oslo Freedom Forum is so, so important, because it humanizes Bitcoin today.
Yeah.
And I don't know which stage it's going to be on, but I know I get to host a conversation, kind of a snapshot, I suppose, of the Oslo Freedom Forum at the conference in Miami. And I don't know exactly what the title is going to be. I'm trying not to commit to anything really concrete here, but it's basically, Bitcoin doesn't care. Bitcoin doesn't care if you're a woman. It doesn't care if you're young. It doesn't care really where you are. It's permissionless, and it is actually in a very amazing and incredible way, because of all the things that it makes possible. It is a freedom tool, and it is an ability. It provides the ability for people to have independence and freedom in a lot of, I don't know that it's got the best use case in the US, and I talk to a lot of Americans. I'm like, okay, yeah, you don't need it. You can, whatever, carry around gold. You've got it, whatever, you're fine.
Yeah.
And I'm not jaded in the sense that I'm, not going to try and convince someone why Bitcoin's great. It's more, I'm going to just always figure out what they value about life, who they are, what are they interested in and passionate about. And probably, if I like this person and we're having a good conversation, they're probably, naming something that ties back to Bitcoin, and, tailor make that. I don't like shoving anything down anyone, like I want everyone to choose to opt in. And I think, realizing that a lot of the world is unbanked, a lot of people, I want to talk about remittance off ramps, which I don't feel like anyone's like, oh, Mills, I've heard you're really interested in this. Would you like to be on this podcast? That has not happened for remittance off ramps, but just, I'll just keep sending up the light into the sky.
You have to come back for 2 episodes. We got to do our Mandibles Book Club episode, and we're going to do remittance on ramps, because I had a very fun conversation recently with a couple of workers who work for my dad, who are El Salvadorian construction workers, and I went down a very interesting rabbit hole with them. But
on ramps or off ramps or both?
Both.
Okay. Also, we need to consult Chris for the book club. Lana, I mean, should we say like 4th of July? Like, do
That's
like
cute.
a patriotic. Okay, cool. I just like to have some action
Guys,
steps,
4th of
guys. I know
July,
this isn't a
done.
beating.
Oh, don't you worry. I will be hounding you in your DMs. I will hunt you down.
That buys me time to read it. Although I'm aiming for a book a month right now, so there's hope for me yet.
Manables was
well, I know
quickly.
you're going to be spending a lot of time at the beach and the pool while we're in Miami, Lana, because
She's not putting out those folding chairs. That's for damn sure.
Lounging.
What surprises can we spoil for Bitcoin Miami here for our 5 viewers right now?
I don't know about any surprises that we can spoil. There's a couple pretty cool announcements that I've gotten wind of that I cannot spoil. So I can just say there's actually some announcements to get excited for, which you never know in a bear market. You're like, is anyone actually like, so you mentioned we both went to Consensus, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, that was my first time going to any conference that wasn't like completely just TradFi or something like not Bitcoin only. It was very, I'll call it altcoins. It was very altcoin focused, and there was nothing exciting. Like nobody seems to be like there's a couple cool like product launches, but nothing super like world changing or earth shattering or like this is something that's actually going to help the masses. There was like one product launch that Mills and I went to that I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool because they're trying to simplify using crypto and using Bitcoin, which I think is pretty cool. But otherwise, not a ton of innovation. I feel like there's a couple really good announcements coming up in Miami that I'm pretty stoked for, but cannot share.
there was an hour of Bitcoin content at Consensus, and the third, they've split it into 20-minute chunks, and the third was Ben Carmen talking about Lightning innovations. And like, if you think about an entire 3-day conference and there was an hour of Bitcoin content, you know, the bar is so wildly low, and I guess there's that surprise. But I think what I would say is compared like food experience and kind of interactiveness, I would say that we're gonna win. If this was a competition, it would be more or something. I'm just marrying vague words here. Bail me out.
But if it were, it would be an unfair win.
I mean, everything's a competition. Only people who are losing think it's not.
Well, good thing we all agree that it's a competition then.
Mills is trying to hedge.
Guys.
Should we get jerseys?
Hey, I've got some Ukraine
I
basketball.
was about to say, don't we have a Team Bitcoin jersey that
QR
I never got?
code.
Bitcoin. Q is
I'll bring
The
you
jersey
one.
jersey. I have
I'll
the
bring-
T-shirt.
I'll bring you one. I'll bring one to Miami for you.
Oh, I would love that. Yes. Oh,
So,
that would make me
okay,
happy.
no, I'm gonna bring you a book. You're gonna bring Q the jersey.
I'll bring you pot.
I'm in California.
Okay,
Are
I
you
will
welcome to
DM
bring-
you with what else I'm bringing. I don't feel comfortable airing it on air though.
That's fair.
It's good stuff. It's real good stuff.
Word. Chris, yeah, great point. Q, what size?
Medium.
All right, so both Chris and Q, I'm making a note right now. Also, I'm gonna watch Night Film. This is great. I'm
Read it.
reading my notes.
I don't
I'm
think
gonna
it's read yet.
I'm gonna
I'll bring it to
read
you.
Night Film.
I'll bring it to you. That'll be my gift to you.
I'm so excited, guys.
It's gonna be great. I'm waiting for someone to offer to bring me something that isn't pot, and I like chocolate. Just saying.
I mean,
Okay,
do
I
you
will
want a
bring you
jersey?
Oh well, honestly, Lana, I'm bringing you chocolate. It's just again,
It's got it. Thanks.
What, Mark? What are you dibsing? Do you want
Jersey.
a jersey too? Does everyone want jerseys? I've just had a box of these in my
I'll take a
office.
jersey.
All right. You want
Everyone
a
wants
small
one.
one?
Just bring the whole box. They'll be claimed in no time.
You're right. I'll bring the box of jerseys.
She's actually taking notes too. Minnie, chill.
It's true. It's true.
so we're going back to Amsterdam, and by we I mean the two of you.
Are you not gonna go?
Unless Bitcoin Magazine's gonna invite me and pay for me to come out again.
I will say
that
that's
got
the
really
tough thing
quiet
is-
really fast.
Well, I got yelled at
Oh,
once. I can't get.
job for that. So.
You did not. No.
Hmm.
I will die. You'll die on the hill of Harry Potter. I will die on the hill that was not anybody's downfall. Because I can't. No.
We'll sidebar. I digress though. Are we excited to go back? Will you be bringing all the business that I gave to the coffee shops once again in lieu of my absence, or will the coffee shops suffer this time around?
I'm curious if I'm actually going to go. I don't know. I don't know if either of us are. It's a little too soon to know who's like on the list. But maybe. We've got. Maybe. But if so, then yeah. No, we'll keep them in business. On your honor.
I tried so hard to convince that shop that I was like forcing everyone to go to because it was so close to the venue. That first night, Dylan Healy and I go, and I was like, "Hey, so we're having a Bitcoin conference like down the street from here. I will be bringing people here probably like multiple times a day. Would you be interested in potentially like accepting Bitcoin at least just for a few days, and we would help you guys set it up, be able to collect and all that?" And the lady was like, "Absolutely not. No, go away.
Which one?
Take your weed and go elsewhere."
Oh my god. So Mark is definitely number one on the list. He was promised he was going. So there's that. We have at least one person going.
I went to Amsterdam twice last year and Oslo twice last year, so I feel like I've had the unfair travel advantage. Also, Q, I thought about you this 420 because just so happened to be in New York, a block from Washington Square Park at Pubkey, and Mr. Away Slice is walking up, and I'm, going in to give him a hug. And I mean, on purpose, we had a redeemed GBTC meetup, like shareholder meetup at Pubkey, and then did a Twitter Spaces before. And he's like, "I'll come hang out at the bar." It was planned, intentional, but he's like, "Wow, Washington Square Park." I don't know why Josh does not talk like this. I'm so sorry, Josh.
Wow.
He's like, "Washington Square Park is crazy." And I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I could see it down the block." He's like, "Yeah, just so many people smoking weed. It's insane. I don't know." I was like, "It is April 20th. It is 420. He's like, "That explains it." Yep, that all checks out.
The laws in New York are actually more lax than the laws in LA as far as, or in California in general, as far as smoking goes. And I didn't know this until I went to New York a couple of years ago, but apparently anywhere you are legally allowed to smoke a cigarette, you are also legally allowed to smoke pot. But in LA, for example, like you can't legally smoke weed outdoors. You can,
but it happens.
Oh, as if that stops me.
It doesn't.
But the point I'm trying to make is like if you see a cop, you should try to hide it here in LA. In New York, you could blow smoke into a cop's face and he can't do anything about it.
Wait, what do you mean here in LA? Aren't you in Florida?
No, I'm literally still in my parents' basement right now. We're gonna sidebar.
You guys could be hanging out.
She lives so far away. She literally lived like I'm closer.
No, I have a car, Q. You live far away by bike.
Yeah, because I don't have a car.
Wow, shots fired.
No,
well, thank you guys so much for joining us this evening.
I had no idea you were. That's why you're like, "I'll bring you weed." I'm like, I can bring my own weed. I'm in LA. We'll sidebar that.
Yeah, we'll sidebar, but I digress. Is there anything else we want to hit? Because I want to leave us chomping the bits for the next time the two of you join, because this has been way too much fun, and the two of you guys are definitely coming back on.
Yeah. No, I go ahead, Mills.
Everyone read The Mandibles, and we've got a July 4th book club.
And go steal a Bible from your local hotel.
Yes, you are allowed. We give you permission to steal the Bible.
Someone's gonna get struck, I'm telling you.
Also, I want to call back one thing though. Chris had commented a ways back, House of Leaves. House of Leaves was one of the first books can be performance art or interactive kind of art Chris, if you're reading that for the first time, let's talk about it. I would say my answer of the book that I'm just going back to right now is a 1942, 4-ish, 5-ish, The Woman You Want to Be. And it's like charm, etiquette. It's like so politically incorrect. It's just laughable, but some really cool stuff. So a lot of the stuff I've been working on writing about femininity has been influenced and informed. I'm baby birding a little bit of this book in a way that this is out of print, and a lot of people would have a lot of barrier to entry, I would say, because of some of the suggestions. But anyway, The Woman You Want to Be, Marjorie something.
I'm Googling it.
Lana, I will leave you to say the final word of goodbye to our audience.
Oh God.
No
Come
pressure.
to Bitcoin conference.
Use promo code QQQ if you have not gotten a ticket yet.
There you go. Or Lana 10, but take your pick.
No, if you use
or just
QQQ,
Mills.
no, use QQQ. I'll bring you a joint. I will know if you use my promo code. So
That's and it's worth noting that like 90%
We will-
of the people watching this right now
already
are
have tickets.
staff, but it's fine.
Already have free tickets.
Final word. Can I steal Odell's Stay Humble stack sets?
Beautifully said.
Or you know what? No. I change it. I don't want to steal Odell's. Follow Q's advice and lifestyle and get off Twitter after this. Just go do something that doesn't require a screen or a death scroll or an algorithm.
Ladies and gentlemen, that has been another episode of Late Night Bitcoin. I totally steamrolled you, Mills, but I'm gonna make that judgment call to call it right now. Love you both. Love you all for tuning in. I will be back next week.
Woo! Thanks for